always with this introduction. Hello, everyone. I'm start moving my head the same as Api. But welcome to Design Donderdag, or Thursday. That's Dutch for Thursday. That we do every month, Lonneke, about
for a long time already.
Yeah, for 46 weeks.
Don't know how long, but years. And it's been cool.
1 second. Oh, I had my YouTube also opened and I heard myself back in the echo, but it's solved. 4 years, over 4 years.
Oh, wow.
Today we have Erik Svensen as a guest. Welcome, Erik, to the show. And we're going to be talking about visual calculations. Power your visuals with visual calculations.
It's about time, right?
It is, eh? We never discussed it, right?
No, we've been neglecting the visual calculations. Sorry, Jeroen/Jay.
Like so many others,
Like so many,
Because we saw it also in a poll, and the people are curious, but for some reason they need a little bit more inspiration, maybe, to start looking at it. So maybe let's do that today, with some nice examples, what you can do with it, how it makes life easier.
Maybe immediately a question for people watching. Yes, say hello, but also, why did you not yet start with visual calculations? Because you can say, hey, how are you using it? But why did you not start? What is the thing holding you back?
Yeah, then we can take that into the discussion. So please, I know that you're watching. So leave a comment either via YouTube or LinkedIn. You can just put it in the comment and I see it immediately. So as soon as I see it, I will put it also on the screen. So Erik, before we start, we deep dive into visual calculations. Can you shortly introduce yourself? What you do?
Erik Svensen, based in Copenhagen, Denmark. So almost the same language as Dutch, right? Or at least it sounds for foreigners. But
so we can do it in Dutch.
Next time. I need a little more practice. I think 7 years Power BI MVP. My day-to-day job is innovation with primarily within Power BI and data for FMCG, fast-moving consumer goods, analyzing a lot of sales data from supermarkets, etc., in the Nordics and also in Middle East, etc. So, and the platform we are providing is based on the Microsoft BI stack, and we have been working with Power BI since next month, almost 10 years old, but we introduced it very fast. I've been working with Power BI since the beta.
Nice. And you said you're also working on innovations in Power BI. Is it using Power BI for innovations or actually creating new innovations in Power BI? Do you work together with Microsoft?
As part of the MVP, we give feedback to the team, but it's primarily utilizing the new features in Power BI as soon as possible. Preview features, yes, let's do it. Let's dive in and see how we can utilize it to create values for our clients.
And Erik, when did your journey start with visual calculation? What was for you the reason to really deep dive in? What convinced you?
When it was introduced first, it was primarily sort of an extra calculator in the visual, but especially when they added the capability to use it in conditional formatting, then it really sort of now we need to use it.
That's always very visual specific. Sometimes I create measures that I like, design measures, I always call them, that are reused in several visuals. But in general, that's quite visual specific.
And why was that then for you a reason that you thought, hey, this is much better than the other solutions? What made it for you such a positive thing?
because it's sort of it is a, as Lonica says, a visual calculation, right? So simply just showing another number in the bars or the line, etc. Yes, that's okay, but then then I would typically build that into the model itself, right? Having the capabilities of doing calculations within the visual data suddenly opened up a lot of new features that were relevant. Dynamic titles, controlling the formatting of data points, etc.
I think that people, and we didn't get any, I think we didn't get any answers yet, I didn't know. But for me, it's like, I could already do that, but then with DAX, and I already know DAX, so why would I change? My models are not, in general, huge. Sometimes I come across huge models when a client gives me the model and I just have to work with it, and I create a separate folder with all my design measures. But because I already knew how to do it in DAX, I didn't really have the, looking for the right word, well, the need to learn visual calculations.
Yeah, or the habit. Or
It's also a habit. And you indeed have to learn other functions again and new things.
And, well, I don't speak Italian either, so I'm not a DAX expert, right? I do know some DAX, of course, but when we have to do some of the more of the complex calculations, my head also starts to filter context, row context, what actually happens. And I come from Excel development many years ago. So having an Excel sheet where I can, I just need to take that cell and minus that cell and multiply with that cell, that sort of, simplifies things.
All right. Now, I suggest, because we can talk a lot about it, but to see it, I think is even better. So I'm going to add your screen now, and maybe first we start with some basics and then some cool examples, what you can do for use cases with visual calculations. And again, if you have any questions, let us know, because then we will answer them.
Yeah, and I hope my screen.
I see your screen. Yeah, it's clear.
You can get a copy of this file. I will share that either on GitHub or with Lonica and Jerome. So you can play around with it as well.
Cool.
But in this case, we'll start with the basics. So in this case, I have a bar chart where I have some field parameters where I can change what I want on the axis, and I can slice the data up here. But when we want to add a visual calculation, there are several places we can do that. Let's just close this one and expand the build. Now we can click the add, and we have an icon here. We can click the 3 buttons and add a new calculation here. Or one thing I never use is actually up here, where they have hidden the new visual calculation up here as well.
I forgot about it. But you have to first activate them in your preview features, right? Because people will be like, I don't see it. Yeah. Okay.
So you have to go into options and preview features and activate the preview features. Now, we can add visual calculation in the value axes, but also in the tooltip, right? So you can see I've added the prior year here as a tooltip, and that will also be available when we open up the visual calculation window. So think about all the fields you can add or don't want to show in the visual perhaps, but have to use it in the visual calculation. Add that to the tooltip area. But let's jump in and click the visual calculation, and then the visual calculation window will open and give us formula bar where we can start to add a calculation. And in this case, I want to calculate the change, so I'll give it a name. And using the square brackets will enable us to select what's in our visual table. So this is the data that is included in this visual for now. And I can pick between the different, and including the prior year that was only added, not in shown, but only in the tooltip area. So now I can calculate a simple change between the sales value and the prior year sales value and have the value in there. And by default, if I added the calculation in the up here, it will show. I could also have added in the tooltip area and then have it only as a tooltip. But as soon as we use the visual calculations, and you can see that we can actually now hide the calculations. So if I only in the chart wanted to show the change, I can simply hide.
Yeah, so that's also for your measures that your DAX measures, you can also hide them as soon as you have a visual calculation included.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. And well, maybe one thing, because you mentioned the square brackets, but you also got to see the month in square bracket because we're very much used to the square bracket. Well, is that true? Now, normally you get the table name in front of it, of course, and then in square brackets you have columns with dimensions as well.
It's all the columns. Now we don't have columns in here, but it's all the rows and columns you can refer to as elements in your matrix that you have in your visual table here.
And Erik, because I think that's new, eh? You see these little arrows before the field names. What is that?
That was introduced here in the June edition. Yeah. That should make it easier to select the different columns and that you have in your visual table.
Okay.
Right. For let's say basic measures, it's quite nice. But as soon as you begin to do some more and add other functions, there are some tweaks that sometimes screw up your formula. So I hope Jay from Microsoft isn't listening, but I'm not a fan yet. You can also click on this one to highlight or hide the highlight. It's also, I think that was added in the May release, so you can see which columns that you are using in your calculation by the
more back to Excel.
Back to Excel, yeah. And we like Excel, right?
We do.
We do. So now I've hidden the sales value, and when we return to the sort of standard way of looking at a visual, you can see that over on the left-hand pane, there's an icon here that indicates that some fields are hidden from this visual. And we need to open the visual calculation window again if we wanted to show the sales value again in our visual.
Okay.
Now, when we hover over the column here, you can see that the prior year sales value is included in the standard tooltip. You can hide that if you do like this, and then all the intermediate calculations you might have in your visual will not be included in your visual tooltip. Now, this was a fairly simple calculation, right? So let's quickly move on, and then I'll add now in the tooltip area. Now I want to calculate what is actually the max month of where do we have the highest sales. And for now, you can do it in, as you know from Excel, in many different ways, right? I find the easiest way, well, let's not introduce expand yet, but here actually comes something very, very unique for visual calculations that you can't use in your data model. And that is the definition of rows and columns and rows. And you notice that I used field parameter to determine what I wanted on the axis, right? And instead of referring to month that I could do here, no, I can't do it now. I have to do it like this. Values month. That will give me all the unique month. That won't work if I change it to having key account managers instead on the rows. So this is magical, and something I've worked with the multi-dimensional cubes as well, where we had current member and sort of other nice things that don't exist in the tabular language. But here I can just refer to the rows. And I can then say, I want the max of row and the sales value. Right?
Mm-hmm.
And this shows you a problem as well, because now you can see that we have the max here on the rows. This is the January sales that is the highest. But at the bottom where we don't have the row context, or is at level, Lonneke, blog post, then we'll get the max of the rows, i.e. the total amount. That is very important to be aware of. This one will give us the max value. So if I wanted, I'll get back to that example later. If we wanted to highlight the max month, we could add let's just do it up here. If max, then I could say if, and if the max equals the sales value, then it should show the value, otherwise it should show blank. Right? So now you can see, just like in Excel almost, we'll get a result on this line, but also on the total line.
Yeah.
And you can see that we get a bar in our chart here that shows the maximum value only for that period. Let's hide the change. Now, then I could add another measure that that just showed the January figure or whatever, but we have the flexibility to show what we want in our chart by using the show and hide, right? Now we only have the max value. Another way to do a max calculation, that is using the expand function. Expand does, as I say, retrieves the context with the added levels of the details compared to blah, blah, blah. That is some almost Italian, right? But what it means is that we can actually do a calculation in here and ask for the sales value and ask it to expand the rows. And that's it. Now, notice what happens here at the total level. Now it says 1.1, because when we are at this level, it expands or folds out the rows context and gets the maximum value of the sales. On this level, we don't have anything to expand, so we get the max value for the specific month. This is relevant, extremely relevant to know, because if we start to use these calculations in totals and in reference lines, then we need to refer to what's on the total line, because we don't have anything at the rows line.
So you specifically use the expand for referring to your total?
Yes.
Okay.
We'll get back to some examples about that. let's kill the max button, and I'll go into the visual calculations again to show you some other examples. You can see now, because I deleted the max that I referred to in this, my visual fails, and I can simply delete that measure. What was the next example? I forgot that. Okay, rank in DAX. How when I do ranks in my model, I always struggle. Is it rank X, and what should I put in the different arguments, etc. But in here, it's much easier to do a rank within the visual. So let's add a rank by adding a new calculation. So rank, and the rank function is called rank.
Nice.
And now I must say, if it's tied, what should we do there? And just that's dense, there's another. The relations is, how do I want to rank this? In this case, I haven't put in anything on the columns, only on the rows, so that's quite simple. But now we can actually easily rank within columns and groups and say, okay, within the month, the category X is the highest. So let's just refer to rows. And this one, order by, you will see a lot of reference to in the visual calculations. Now, you would guess that you can just say, oh, order by sales value, but you can't. Yeah, well, you can, but it won't work. So what you need to do is actually to wrap your, how do I want to sort my rows in this case? So I need to use the order by function and then specify that I want to sort by sales value, and I want it descending to get the highest number first, and end that. And notice the last arguments as well. This gives us the possibility to do ranking within, if I had added quarters or years, I could then make sure that my rank actually was partitioned by year and quarters. So it gives us a lot of flexibility. And for me, that's much easier to do. But this rank is now based on the rows. So whatever attribute I put in my visual, if it's from the product dimension, store dimension, or whatever, this rank will work. So
yeah. I think it's a bit it's complex. You have this explanation, I don't know the right words for things, but that it says add here your order by, and then you still have to put order by in there. That feels, yes. I would never come to on that idea.
No. Yeah, I think there's somebody working on improving that.
Someone, okay.
Now you can see
Erik,
that
I'm looking a little bit at the time, so this is the basics, and you can use all these nice formulas. And what Jeroen also indicates, Jeroen te Heert, it is basically DAX, because sometimes people saying it is DAX or visual calculation, but it is basically DAX underneath it, but with
and
easier to use functions.
There are functions that exist only in visual calculations.
All right.
For instance, rank.
Exactly. Yeah. But they're pretty straightforward to use, and now we saw in your basic sheet, you can do a lot of things like running totals and things like that. But you were mentioning at the beginning, because we're now using it to show data, but that conditional formatting was for you, and to really create new visuals was for you an eye opener. So maybe we can, because we're halfway the time, maybe we can move to, I see some other sheets, cool things you can create with it, and maybe you can use that as a...
Curious.
I'm curious to see them, yeah.
One of the first examples that came out with visual calculations was to do a Pareto analysis, right? And this is, now I've done it with a bar chart instead of a column chart. I'll show you how the principles are the same, but in this case I've added, you can see these are in another color, and I can change the highlighting and say, okay, now I only want to highlight the first 45%. And I can switch on the axis.
Yeah, cool.
Right? And even whatever, because I'm using the rows in my calculations instead of referring to a specific attribute. This would, to do this, your DAX will...
I know, I tried. Well, not I tried, I succeeded also. I tried and succeeded, but it took me a lot of time.
Yeah.
It's a lot of ifs.
There's actually not, or switch or whatever you try to solve it with, right? But in order to do this with visual calculations, now this one is a field parameter with the values from 0 to 100.
Yeah.
And the value of that table is now added as a tooltip, right? So I get what the user picked in the slicer to have in my visual table. Now, the calculations needed to do this is actually doing a Pareto running, what I call, where I use a some X over some rows. And because when we use categories or attributes that are not numeric, DAX will sort it alphabetically, but we need to sort it by value.
Yeah.
That's why the calculation here expands a little bit. So I use the sum X here to summarize over the window and expanding the window. And then I divide it with the total value, where I use the collapse all on the sales value, and that will give me the 8 million.
Yeah.
So okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then
collapse all is like your remove filters or all selected or something in that direction. I always try to make the connection to how would I do it in DAX.
Yeah.
So if I want to try,
the collapse all. Well, now you can see that we're calculated something here on the rows, right?
Yeah.
So when I ask to do a collapse all, it sort of collapses, I should say, all the rows here and gives me the total. So
I see it a little bit also like Excel. Maybe you have always these pluses and minuses that you can collapse or.
So you can compare it with remove filters or all, right? But it still only works what's in your visual at the moment.
Yeah. I understand. Yeah.
Now, in order to change the colors in the bars here, I'm adding what I call a Pareto color. Oh, Jay is on board.
Oh, now we have to be careful.
Hi, Jay. Now, the Pareto color is simply a very simple formula where I check if the 100 value, i.e. the 61 divided by 100 is greater than or equal to the Pareto running here. And if it is, then put in a 0 or put in a 1. Now, and then we switch to the formatting pane and go into the bars. And then we click on the conditional formatting here. And then I've added a rule where I add a rule.
I don't see that pop-up now, but yeah.
I need to share that screen, so
yeah, take your time. And if you have any questions while you're watching this, let us know.
I have, but also other ones, of course.
Because you do this with Dutch a lot, Lonneke, now, right?
Yeah, definitely, and I can completely understand doing it here. Only I normally just use the hex code already in the measure.
We'll get back to that.
Okay.
I'll put it in the chat. Can I do that? Yes. Connect. Perhaps like this. Continue. La 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 la. So it is the normal window. I have a oops.
Oh, that's fine. But it is the regular.
Regular, but now I think that was included in the March or April version that you can pick the visual calculations at the top. That is included in the.
Because now you get the option like data in visual and data in your model. So then it will be somewhere at the top.
But Erik, maybe you need to reshare your screen, maybe to share the full screen, because I think you will use that screen more often also during this session, right? Or not? It's okay.
I think it says I'm sharing, so.
I think you only shared maybe the Power BI screen, and that maybe therefore doesn't show the pop-up. But if you share your entire screen, so if you reshare it, then the entire screen, then probably it will work. Yeah.
And we'll do it over here instead. And where do I reshare the screen?
So in the streaming, yeah, exactly. Yeah. So cool. Yeah. So I think it's nice that you can use it in conditional formatting. So it opens all kinds of possibilities with regards to colors or to labels, and it is quite straightforward. I like the way that you can, just like Excel, I think we mentioned that a lot. You can say, I create a couple of logical, simple columns.
Yeah.
If this, then this, and then build it up like that. Yeah. Shall we try it again? And otherwise we'll just.
I think I've shared my screen now, haven't I?
Yeah, I will edit. Yes, we see your screen. Yeah.
Now I need.
Does the conditional formatting work now?
So the conditional formatting of the bars was here. Click this one.
Yes,
and then I've added a eraser color and say if it's 1, then change the fill color to this one.
Yeah.
Now let's expand it a little bit. So let's go out here, because here we will also look at how can we use this in order to control the min and max on our axis. How can we add a subtitle with the information? So here I can see that the top selling is this amount, and there's a gap to the lowest month, and we'll celebrate that to this.
Yeah.
I can also say, oh, please highlight the highest value, or please highlight both the highest value and the lowest value.
Yeah.
Visual calculations, right?
Yeah, cool.
And this one again works cross what you put on your axis, right?
Yeah.
Doing that in DAX. Now this one you can make in 10 minutes, but putting that logic into your data model will give you a lot of report specific calculations, right?
Yeah.
Now, of course, if you have to reuse some of the calculations elsewhere or many times, then visual calculations might not be the right way to go. But if you only have a couple of visuals where you need this functionality, why not keep your model simple as is?
Yeah.
And when you copy a visual, you copy the logic of visual calculations with you. So you can copy a visual between different data models, etc., or the same model, of course, and you'll get the visual calculations included.
So also, Erik, when you copy it from one report to another report file.
Yes.
Right. Yeah, when based on the same model, right?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Not to break. Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, if we look at the visual calculations that are needed to do this, yes, there are a few. Some of them could have been wrapped into one, but I like to keep it sort of as short as possible, because when I return to the model in a month, then I hope I can better read why I did this, right?
Yeah.
So In order to do this, let's switch back to month here. Now, up here, I have a slicer, again, using the 100 values, but I am only choosing to show the values from -1, 0, and 1. And that is because you can see it says something else here. And that is because I'm using the data format and using a custom format here. Can you see it?
Yeah, yeah, definitely.
So this
I just never saw this formatting before, but yeah, nice.
It's also Excel style, right?
Yeah. I know
So we can put in a format code. So the first the positive, then the negative, and then the 0.
Yeah.
And the field 100, that's just a table with a lot of
name of the.
That is just a field parameter with the values from -1 to 100. This is a table when you're starting to use visual calculations that you always should have in your model, right? Because this enables you to parameterize a lot of stuff where you want to modify the distance between stuff and how much you want to manipulate the the y-axis, for instance, to make room for data labels, or in this case, to do this sort of trick, to show something and use the value 0, -1, 0, and 1 to do some calculations.
So you basically, I'm more and more understanding this. So you're doing a lot of columns, calculations, and you're doing a lot of ifs. So if this number, you have your numbers is easier.
So now I know that I have this slicer that can put in a -1, a 0, or 1 in. And I know that if they have selected -1, they don't want any highlighting. If they want 0, they want to highlight the max. And if they pick 1, they want to highlight both the min and max.
Yeah.
So I add in my visual, I add that value. So in the first one, you can see that even because I've selected -1, I don't want to highlight anything, but I still need to do all the other calculations. So the first one is that I'm ranking the value, as I showed you before. Let's have a look at that. So that is a simple rank of the rows and order it by sales value. I would love to be able to parameterize this one as well, but that is on my wish list. Nudge, nudge, Mr. J. And the next thing, because I can dynamically change the number of rows, so if I selected product names, I would have 450, right? So to find the minimum, I need to know how many rows are there in my visual table. And we can do that by doing this. We can expand, and we can count rows, and we count rows on rows. And this will give us 12 down here, but also 12 on all of the rows.
And these kinds of measures make, or let's call it functions, make it so abstract. Maybe my brain is just not there today, but yeah.
Hopefully tomorrow, but it's just that we need if you did it in Excel, you would do some count if or whatever. The only thing that you need to take into account here, I could just do like this. That would give me 12, but it won't give me 12 on each of the lines. And that's why I need to use the expand on the rows to have 12 on each line, because I want to find the minimum value using this. So when 12 is 12, or when 451 products is number 451, then that is the one I want to highlight. And then you can see I've added a bar color here. And the bar color is this one. Let's see if I can zoom this in.
Yeah.
Now, you remember that the 100 value could be -1, 0, or 1, right? So if rank value equals 1 and 100 value is greater than or equal 0, that means that they have selected show me the high or show me the high and low.
Yep.
And then I use this color. And that's a quiz question for you, Launica. What is that color?
Blue. No. You can do that in your theme. You can have your status colors.
Correct.
Yeah.
Oh.
So I'm using the theme name of the elements where we have good, bad, and neutral to highlight the information.
Yeah.
So
Nice.
if you have another theme where good is red or whatever.
Yeah, so you don't hard code any color here, but you just say refer to my theme.
Yeah.
So just really bringing it together. Yeah, nice.
And this is bad.
A lot of new things. I didn't know that you could use reference good and bad. Nice.
Now.
All right. And the bad one you have for the where it is 12.
And this one will be our default color. And now I've just entered color 1. That's another wish that we could actually refer to our theme color. Let's just go in here and choose customize current theme. Imagine that we could refer to this color.
Yeah.
That is not possible yet.
Yeah.
But we could refer to, and now the naming is not the same, right? Just to confuse us. So this is good and this is bad.
Why? Yeah.
Why? Yeah, because apparently by design, the developer will say, perhaps.
They like to keep our brains active.
Yeah.
That's good.
Now, the thing that I learned today, actually, or yesterday, is actually if I'm using a color picker.
Yeah.
That will, let's put it over here. That will show us some different values. Now you can see there's a HLL or the RGB value for this color I just picked.
Yeah.
Now let's copy this one. No, let's take the orange one here instead. Let's copy this one. And then we'll paste that in here. Right?
Yeah.
Let's see what happens. What?
Everything.
Now, all the colors went this, but I actually stated the text string HSL, etc., or the RGB. I could use that in order to specify this. And this could be, I could put in values for that as well. I'm very excited about this because I can now add transparency as well.
Yeah.
By using,
is it something specifically for HSL that you add transparency?
It's yes, no, also for RGB.
Okay.
Right. So now I have transparency.
Yeah, nice.
But that was not. This has actually nothing to do with the visual calculations. You can make it dynamic using visual calculations, of course, but you can use this in any conditional formatting expression that you want.
Nice. And it works also for RGBA.
Yes.
All right.
Yeah.
Which is the transparency included in RGB.
Let's switch back to color 1 now.
And color 1 is just a measure with also RGB.
It will then revert to what the user has picked in the bar color or column color in this case, right?
Oh, okay.
Now the subtitle here is a construction of the subtitle to use in the as an expression in our subtitle text. And you can see that it has different values on the rows level, and the total level shows actually the top value and the gap.
Yeah.
And when you are using visual calculations in titles, in reference lines, then you need to control the total line where the row line is irrelevant. So you need to control how the calculation works at the total level, not at the row level, because we are not using that. So if we enter into here, it becomes a little longer. But what happens is that I'm actually concatenating X over the rows where I've created some calculations further to the right, calculating the sales value for the rank equals 1. So that's where I get that number. And then I have the calculation of gap between high and low calculation and put in some extra text. You can, so let's have a look at how I calculate the gap between high and low, and that is simply using the expand from before. So find the max sales value on rows, but return the right value on the total level.
Yeah.
And the same expand the rows, i.e. go down to the rows in this case and find the minimum value, and that will give me the difference between the highest and the lowest value in my visual table.
And because the months are already the lowest level, you can't expand that any further. So that's there shown 0, but only on the total level. That's something you can expand. So there it does the calculation. So that's how you control the level. Yeah. Nice.
And that will then work on, because I'm not referencing the month column or the key account column or whatever, this one will work on every element that we'll put in our visual, right?
Very cool,
Finally
Erik.
understand expand and rows a bit better. And we've worked together on a problem that I had for a client. And I really, I've read all the Microsoft Learn stuff, but it didn't.
Important principle. Yeah. Erik, I have.
Oh, he's gone. We have every time we want. What shall we discuss next? I think Jeroen was going to say we're close to the end of our.
Yeah, sorry. I pressed this
You
button
just
on my mouse
Yeah.
here, this one by accident, and then
With
I
the red
moved
button.
out of the page. So hands above the table. But no, the bad news is that we unfortunately are at the end. The good news is that we learned a lot. I
Yes.
see that you have some other examples also there. You're actively sharing also on LinkedIn. So I invite everyone to follow you on LinkedIn, because you share a lot of examples in this past week already, and hope you will continue doing so.
Yeah. And come back.
Yeah, maybe for a part 2.
I need to show you one last thing.
Oh,
One
one
last
last
thing?
thing. Yeah, that's fine. You can do one
Yeah,
last thing.
It's so interesting. I think people don't mind.
No, I don't think so.
Now, this one is one of my favorites, right?
Yeah, then we need it. Yeah.
Because, show me the top X and put the rest into other, but without disconnected tables, right?
Mm-hmm.
So this is only done with visual calculations.
How did you do it?
Right. And of course, we have to make it dynamic so we can determine how many rows do we want to include in our calculation, right? And this is just conditional formatting in the table. Now, this is a matrix, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the matrix contains this hashtag. This is actually the 100 value. If I hover over, you can see that this is the value up here. So when they select from 1 to 7, you will get 1 to 7, i.e. the members of the dimension returned. And then I've added one of the attributes, in this case from the product dimension, subtype that I want to group or get the top X from. Now, what you see here is actually not visible in the matrix because let me disclose something for you. So if I add the plus minus signs, you can see that there is actually a hidden thing below here. But the user don't need to know that, right? They just need to look at this and say, that's the most important products or subtypes. Now, in order to do this, yes, we need a lot of visual calculations, right? As the 100 table and the product table is not related, I will get all the different subtypes, in this case, under each of my members from the 100 dimension, right? Mm-hmm. So all the subtypes will be included under 1, 2, 3, etc. And then I need to say, okay, then I do a calculate of the rows within each. So I do a rank within each of them to find out whether the rank rows, i.e. what is number 1, is it equal to, then I put in sales value. That is what I call in rank.
Yeah.
Then I move on. And then in order to get this, I do, if it's in rank, if it's different from 0, then I take the name of the product or subtype in this case.
Yeah.
That means that I have a calculation of what the subtype is, i.e. this is a measure.
Yeah.
Then the others is simply to do a max over the others to get the total. And then I do this is just to
combine it.
Am I on a
level
on the line here, or am I on the total? And then if I am on the other line, then I can do some calculations, etc. to get the other statement, and thereby I'm creating an other group, calculating the other group sales where I'm using the running sum. So I'm calculating a running sum over all the different elements. And you get a file of this, right? So you can have a look at the magic behind and do. So this is actually my calculation. So if it's blank, then show me the sales value. That is the total. If we are in other group, then show the other group calculation sales. Elsewise, sales and rank, i.e. the 1 to, in this case, 6, right?
Yeah.
And this could, of course, be expanded to show me top 5 or show me the top or bottom 5 or whatever in any way you.
Yeah.
That's a very cool example, and it also showcases all the different things. You have to do it step by step, because otherwise you get really lost. But I really appreciate it that you shared all this knowledge. I think it will, also myself and Lonneke probably, we think, okay.
I have one comment or one
What's your comment?
Thing I do not believe anymore, Erik. You do speak Italian.
No. I'm very good at Excel as well, right?
That's I don't believe you. Your DAX knowledge is already quite high. Otherwise, this is not possible.
Thank you.
No, it's cool. So nice.
Yeah, and Jorge has maybe a remark.
Last one.
This should be a lot better than doing this stuff using plain DAX, even using binnen function. Is that something you experience also, that it is faster when you're doing it like this? Or not?
Again, it depends on your model and what you're doing, of course, right? My example here with the top X and others, when I use the product names where there are 27,000 products in this table, you shouldn't do that, right? Because you will get 7. In this case, I have 7 times 27,000 in my visual table. That's not a good idea, right? So. But normally, right, if you don't do hacks like this one, then you are only working with the relatively normally few rows you have in your visual, and that has I haven't met performance issues there. It's primarily when I try to do something like this, where I cheat in order to accomplish what I want, then you will hit performance could hit performance, but you'll have the same issue if you do it in DAX, right?
Yeah, I think the question was actually framed the other way around, that this would lead to better performance in general compared to
exactly.
DAX.
That was the remark.
Yeah,
Thank you,
and you don't fill up your model with a lot of or perhaps visual specific measures, then that might confuse your users, right?
But this is, for me, a thing like, okay, so we have DAX measures, we might have calculated columns, preferably not. We might have visual calculations, you do things in different places. It's a bit of, for me, I had the session about tweaking core visuals, but sometimes it becomes too complex to hand over to a colleague because they don't know what to find where anymore. And they should see the little sign like, hey, there are visual calculations in this visual if they have not opened the visual window yet. Or window.
I have suggested to the product manager to put in an icon here where you sort of could see, just as you have if you have modified the data labels with another, where you get a small eye, that you have done something that might confuse the user. Then put a C or whatever, so you could see that this visual actually contains.
Yeah, I think that will be good, because if I hand it over to a colleague, client, I'm afraid that they will get lost a bit.
Could be.
But,
Erik, thank you again. If you can share the link with us to because you will share this file, because we didn't have time to watch it all the sheets, but you have some other examples that people can watch then. So that's
I will put this file on my GitHub as well. There is a link here in the learning material as well, where I put up my first 20 posts about the visual calculations. Well, a lot of other examples as well.
So connect with Erik and you will see them all. So in the file you see further links, and you keep sharing nice, cool examples, right? In the upcoming weeks.
I'm on day 36.
Wow.
We have 60.
Wow.
Yeah, more than this.
We have a long way to go.
Thank you for doing all this, Erik, because I really appreciate it that you share all this knowledge with your post and with this hour. I think it's very recommendable that you do this. So thank you. And next week we're also back with Cat Response Live. And then we have a special guest from Poland, Lukas Borowski, I believe you pronounce it. And we're going to talk about AI agents and how they can help you analyze your customer feedback interaction more easily. So he has a cool solution how you can also make it easier to make an interpretation of all this textual feedback and translate it into numbers. So let's see how that so that's next week if you want to join. For now, we are almost 1 hour live, so time to say goodbye, and maybe see you next week or next month. And
again, we're still looking for people for Design Donderdag who want to join us and share their knowledge.
Otherwise, there will be visual calculations the next couple of months.
We'll have a. Cool.
But we hope to see you again, Erik, in the future, because I think they're nice examples to improve your visuals. Thank you all, and have a nice evening.
Bye.
Bye.